You can usually tell who is going to get promoted, not from their work, from the first meeting. Before a single result is in, before anyone has shipped anything real, you already have a quiet hunch about who is going somewhere. And more often than you would like to admit, that hunch turns out to be right. Picture two people up for the same job. One is tall, calm, speaks early, holds the room without trying. The other is quietly excellent, does the work, fixes the thing that was actually broken, says less. You already know who the smart money is on, and it is not the one who fixed the thing. So here is the uncomfortable question. If you can predict the promotion before the performance, what exactly is the promotion measuring? You tell yourself it measures competence. The best person rises. That is the story every org chart is supposed to tell, but you have watched it up close, and you know the story has a hole in it. The person who got the corner office is not always the person who did the best work. Sometimes they are visibly worse at the actual job, and there they are, above you, deciding your raise. This is not bad luck. It is not a conspiracy either. It is a specific, well-documented feature of how human judgment works, and once you can see it, you cannot unsee it. So let me show you the machine, gear by gear. Because the reason your boss looks like a leader is that looking like a leader is most of what got them the job. Start in 1920. A psychologist named Edward Thorndike is handed a strange result. He had asked military officers to rate their men on a list of separate qualities: intelligence, physique, leadership, character, ordinary stuff. But when he looked at the numbers, the ratings were far too neat. A man judged physically impressive was also judged more intelligent, a better leader, a finer character, on traits the officer had never actually watched him use. The qualities were not really being rated one by one. One overall impression was leaking into all of them. A single good trait cast a glow over everything else. Thorndike gave that glow a name. He called it the halo, and in the century since, it has turned up everywhere anyone has looked for it. Now sit with what that means at work. Someone walks into a room, tall, easy, well-dressed, speaking early and clearly. Your brain does not file those as separate facts. It builds one impression, impressive, and then that impression quietly colors your guess about everything you cannot see, their judgment, their competence, whether they would make a good boss. You are not weighing the evidence. You are reading a halo and calling it evidence. And here is the part that should bother you. You cannot feel it happening. Jump to 1977. Two psychologists, Richard Nisbett and Timothy Wilson, run an experiment that is almost cruel in how cleanly it works. Students watch a videotaped interview with an instructor who has a European accent. Half see him warm and friendly. Half see the exact same man being cold and distant. Same face, same accent, same everything. Only the manner changes. Then the students rate him. Not just how likable he is. That part is obvious. They rate his appearance, his mannerisms, even his accent. And the students who saw the warm version found his looks more appealing, his accent more charming. The cold group found the same accent irritating. One impression had reached back and repainted details that had nothing to do with it. Fine. But now, Nisbett and Wilson ask the students the real question. Did his manner change how you rated his accent? And the students say no. They are certain it went the other way, that they liked him because of his fine qualities, not that they judged his qualities because they already liked him. They had the arrow of cause exactly backwards, and they had no idea. That is the halo's real trick. It does not just bias you, it erases its own fingerprints. So when a promotion committee swears they chose on merit, they are not lying to you. They genuinely cannot feel the glow doing the deciding. Think about how much of work runs on exactly this. The interview, where a stranger decides your competence in 40 minutes. The all hands, where someone speaks well once and is quietly reclassified as sharp. The offhand comment in a meeting that somehow hardens into your reputation. Each one is a thin slice, and a thin slice is where a halo does its best work. You are being summed up, constantly, by people running almost entirely on a first impression they have mistaken for a considered judgment. So which trait glows brightest at work? What does the office halo actually latch onto? The unglamorous answer is, whatever your brain reads as, looks like a leader. And a surprising amount of that is just physical. Take height. In 2004, Timothy Judge and Daniel Cable pulled together decades of data on height and career success. They found that taller people simply earn more, and not by a little. Controlling for gender, weight, and age, every extra inch of height was worth about $789 more per year. Every inch. Stack that across a career, and a tall employee out-earns a shorter one by tens of thousands of dollars for doing the very same work. Nobody in HR ever wrote, "Pay the tall one more." No policy says it. It does not have to. The halo does it automatically, one small upgraded judgment at a time. And everyone involved thinks they are simply recognizing a certain leadership presence. It gets stranger. In 2008, Nicholas Rule and Nalini Ambadi showed people photographs of chief executives' faces. Just the faces, no names, no companies. They asked strangers to rate how powerful, how competent, how much like a leader each face looked. Snap judgments, a fraction of a second each. Then they compared those face ratings to the company's actual profits. The faces predicted the profits. People who knew nothing, judging nothing but a photo, could pick out the leaders of the more successful firms at a rate well beyond chance. Not because a strong jaw runs a company well, but because the same looks like a leader halo that swayed the strangers had almost certainly swayed the boards and the bosses who put those faces at the top in the first place. The look does not follow the success, the look helps produce it. So now you can assemble the machine. Gear 1. Promotions are decided from thin evidence, a handful of meetings, a presentation, a confident answer in one crisis. Nobody follows you around for a year with a clipboard. The deciders are working from a few thin slices, exactly the conditions where the halo runs the show, because when you know little, one strong impression fills the whole frame. And the fewer the slices, the louder the halo. A single polished presentation can outweigh a year of steady, unglamorous delivery, simply because the presentation is the part everyone was in the room to see. Gear 2. The trait that glows is presence, not output. Height, a steady voice, easy confidence, the instinct to speak first and speak certainly. These get read as competence, and the reading feels like plain fact, which is where the confidence and the competence quietly come apart. The person who looks most sure gets scored as the person who knows most, and those are very often not the same person. Gear 3. The people deciding cannot feel any of it. Like Nisbet and Wilson's students, they are certain they judge the work and the work alone. The bias is invisible from the inside, so it never gets corrected. How do you fix an error nobody in the room can feel? And Gear 4, the one that makes it compound. The person who wins the halo is now the boss, which means they become the template, the living picture of what a leader looks like in your company. So the next round of promotions measures people against them, and the same glow gets selected again and again, all the way up. The higher you look, the more the ladder has filtered for the look. That is the machine. And notice what it is not. It is not that your boss cheated. It is not that everyone above you is a fraud. It is a measurement error, shared honestly by everyone in the building, quietly converting impressive into promoted, while each person swears they were only rewarding results. Which is why the quiet high performer keeps getting passed over. They do the work is real, but the work is not the thing being read in the room. They throw off no halo, so their competence has to be discovered the slow way. Through output nobody is closely tracking, while presence gets rewarded instantly, on site. And after a few rounds of watching that happen, they start to wonder if something is wrong with them. There is not. They are just supplying a signal the machine was never built to read. So what do you do with this? Not what you are hoping I will say. The lesson here is not to go practice a firmer handshake and a deeper voice so the glow finally starts landing on you. That is just volunteering to be the machine's next favorite mistake. The point is smaller and more useful than that. It is to see the glow as a glow. The next time you feel completely certain that someone is leadership material, that they simply have it, stop and ask what you have actually watched them do. Separate the presence from the performance, not to game it, just so that one impressive first impression stops quietly doing your thinking for you. Because you can usually tell who is going to get promoted. You have always been able to. Now you know what you were really reading, and you can finally stop mistaking a halo for the truth.